lot of time, especially in our kind of a society, there is no openness. The family feel very uncomfortable to talk about sexuality and other relationship aspect and attraction towards the opposite sex. So यहाँ पे बहुत बड़ा एक मेजर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है बिकॉज जब आप बात ही नहीं करोगे तो बच्चे को तो नहीं पता है कि आप क्या चाहते हो. They should start communicating. Maybe there can be difference of opinion because child is growing and he is not that mature. But this discussion has to happen.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 9 of Taking Care of Your Mental Health with Tulasi Healthcare. Today we're going to discuss mental health in adolescence and we have two experts with us here today. That's Dr. Gaurav Gupta.
Hello.
And Dr. Midhavi. Both of us will be sharing their important insights with us. How are you both today?
Great. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
All good. How are you?
Okay. I'm good. Let's jump in. So first, let's discuss that in adolescence, there is a lot of hormonal changes involved. They start to get attracted towards others. They indulge in new relationships. What is the role of parents in this situation?
So, see, as we are born, we have certain dependence on parents. Gradually, as we are growing up, our body also grows. Gradually, we become independent, we start going to school, college, social interaction, and hormonal changes start coming around 12, 13. So a child become adolescent in teenage, and we see there are a lot of development, their physical appearance changes, they grow, their hairstyle changes, their voice changes, and gradually they become more different than what they were. They are more independent. They want to take their decision. They have a biological attraction mostly towards opposite sex. And in this biological attraction, lot of time they get indulged into physical relationship, emotional relationships. They have setbacks in the relationship. There is lot of conflict at a family, cultural and individual level. Because basically a child or a human being is like an animal. Like animal has no social boundaries. Similarly, the human being try to have no social boundaries. But then gradually with maturity, as their personality develop around 18, 19, they start having the social boundaries and social maturity. So during that time, there are a lot of conflicts between adolescents and the families because families want them to be very different than what they are at that time. What is your opinion about it?
Totally agreed with sir. So basically this age itself is marked by a lot of changes. So not just physical or hormonal, even your social environment changes a lot, how parents handle all of those situations change a lot. Even the peer relations also change at that point. So at that point, essentially there has to be some sense of stability within the way the family helps or the way family handles all of these changes. So usually at this time, just like sir said, that there are so many changes. So adolescents are essentially trying to make sense of what is happening, how to handle all of those changes. So maybe helping them maintain that stability if there exists any, or helping them achieve that sense of stability is what is required at that point.
Okay, that's very helpful. So as we see a lot on social media, we see in movies, there's a lot of conversations and discussions regarding gender and sexuality at this age. So how can families broach this topic within themselves?
Right, so usually you see that within the media talks about almost everything, right? They will give all the options, they will probably most likely give a very colored opinion also at that point. So maybe once the family can talk within themselves and then approach the child from what they feel is their perspective, not just impose their perspective, but even probably ask what the child themselves feels also. So maybe instead of just answering their question, exploring through their answers is a much better choice. Helping them take their own decisions, helping them explore, but in a correct manner is what is essentially required.
Would you like to add?
So, Vanshika, what is happening is that a lot of time, especially in our kind of a society, there is no openness. The family feel very uncomfortable to talk about sexuality and other relationship aspect and attraction towards the opposite sex. So यहाँ पे बहुत बड़ा एक major conflict है because जब आप बात ही नहीं करोगे तो बच्चे को तो नहीं पता है कि आप क्या चाहते हो. They should start communicating. Maybe there can be difference of opinion because child is growing and he is not that mature. But this discussion has to happen one or the other time. Of course, there are going to be times where family will feel that child is overpowering, while that other time the child will feel that family is overpowering. But that discussion is very important. And right and wrong is a very relative terminology. बहुत सारी बार जो चीजें हमें ठीक लगती हैं, गलत लगती हैं, थोड़ी देर में हमें लगता है कि नहीं, शायद हम दूसरे का पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू ठीक है. सो एडोलेसेंट्स का अपना एक मैच्योरिटी का लेवल होता है, जो कि बहुत सारे इंफॉर्मेशन उन्हें मिलते हैं, उससे जुड़ा है. वाइल पेरेंट्स का एक मैच्योरिटी का एक डिफरेंट लेवल है. Now another biggest conflict is lot of time family is very protective of their independence or their exposure, and that gives them a maybe at that moment a very safe and secure surrounding, but ultimately not a good development.
Correct.
So somewhere a balanced approach is the most appropriate, and I think we should encourage them to have that and have a good communication.
Okay. So how can parents in that sense accept this growth and sort of help them achieve independent identities in their society?
So I would say the biggest risk factor what a lot of developed countries are seeing, especially all the sexually transmitted diseases and infections and in early pregnancies, all that is a very painful and tricky kind of a situation. So I think they should openly talk that there might be a possibility that you can get tempted, and these are the kind of precautions you have to take. These are the kind of problems you can face. Maybe there are times you are not prepared and you get very close to somebody. How to handle that? Is that a safe thing or not? So I think a open communication and discussing these kind of topics is a good idea. Definitely, if the conflict is of major nature, then taking a professional help, maybe going to a school teacher or discussing with the parents whose kids are a little more mature, that how they handle can be a good thing. If they don't discuss, then of course child has chances of getting into more risky situation, and we should make an effort to avoid that.
Correct.
So I have a similar view as sir. So basically, what major issues I as a, or even sir as a clinician will face is that these days parents don't discuss or they hesitate to have that discussion at home. So like I mentioned earlier also, that maybe discussing within the family first and then approaching the child is a better option. Also, in all this regard, not having a discussion, like sir said, will one, of course, put the child at much more risk, but the child is also more likely to consume all the wrong information much more from either social media or the media itself or from their friends itself, because this generation, as it is, we know, is much more explorative than, not exploring at all. And having that discussion, and instead of imposing their own opinions, maybe putting forward their point and helping the child reach the correct conclusion is a much better option. And if parents are still hesitating, then of course, speaking to a professional or the teacher, school teachers or school counselors, or approaching a much bigger professional is what is required in the current sense.
Okay, thank you so much. A very common concern or problem that parents face during this time is if they are indulging in masturbation or sex, is it okay? Is it all right? What can they do?
So, there is no black and white. There is, means of course, there are a lot of shades of gray. And there is, society does not approve, especially in a conservative society like ours. They don't approve that this is the right approach. But definitely the biological needs are very, very different than the social needs. And biological or bodily need is there, and there are chances that you will get tempted or do these things, and these are normal reactions and normal things. So considering that, I think first they should mature and get more information and knowledge that what is it, and definitely especially sex can lead to a lot of consequences. They should be clear that what can be the consequences and prepare the child for that. Like in sex education, at a very early age, we are talking about these things openly. There is no hush-hush affair. And I think we are leading towards a society where the media and social media and internet is becoming rather more prevalent than the developed countries. And considering that, I think it would be worthwhile that you also watch few of these kind of informative sessions and discuss that openly. That will help you and your child to have a more safe future. And there is nothing like yes or no. So it's a personal choice. And I would say that we should just have the right to mature them and make them this choice in a way that they are more safe and secure.
Totally agree. Just adding to what Sir said, that maximum that parents can do in today's day and time is to educate their children at a much earlier stage. So, just to add to what Sir just said, that there are certain NCERT courses itself or structures itself where they have started educating kids regarding this sense itself at a very early age, from the primary school itself, second, third standard itself, and educating and making the child a little more informative about all of this is what is actually required. And if the child is properly educated, the child will automatically make correct choices. And of course, like Sir said, that sexual contact or sex in general leads to a lot of other difficulties as far as teenagers are concerned. So maybe educating the child properly and helping them choose the correct way forward is what parents need to currently do.
All right, thank you so much for your very informative insights. I'm sure a lot of people can benefit from knowing about these things and the resources that you have shared. Again, thank you, Dr. Gupta, and thank you, Dr. Madhavi, for being with us here today. If you liked the video, please subscribe to our channel, leave a comment or review if needed, and we'll see you next time.